Tis I, Shaggy. I am Philaletaya. It is 44 degrees outside. It is a little bit warmer than that in the tent. I know that because I can feel the difference right here. I'm having a good time. Just spent the last few hours arguing with my buddy, Eric, whom I love deeply and whom I would continue to argue with. But if you saw me shout at him that I need him to shut the fuck up for a minute, um, it's not because I was angry with him at all. I just don't like repeating myself. I need you to hear what I'm saying because I love you. I'm trying to help you out. That's what this is about. Uh, so we're going to return to Edward Bulwer Lytton's The Coming Race. We're in chapter 22. I felt like we had a very pleasant reading last night. I am not going to recap the story. Hey, Eric, love you, buddy. Uh, I was just telling everybody that I love this guy. And I would argue with him about this shit anyway, because even if it's one sided from your perspective, it is educational, and I'm just trying to help. So we're going to return to chapter 22. I know, passerby, that we're in the middle. I know what that face means now because that's what Rach says to me when I've said something that annoys her. Just trying to help. But this chapter we're gonna pick right up. I'm not gonna recap the story. I'm gonna do my best not to explain everything everything that's happening in here because this is not a good book. It's not a good book. We're reading this to engage our critical thinking and we're trying to engage our reading comprehension, our critical reading. We're just doing this as in a lot of ways something to do. But this does pick up assuming that you've read the previous 21 chapters. So chapter 22. Actually, give me just a second. I don't know why I don't think about this sooner, but I realize I don't want to project my voice that. Oh, never mind. I'm going to project my voice that far. Um, Chapter 22. As the reader has seen, R. Flynn had not favored my general and unrestricted intercourse with his countrywomen. Though relying on my promise to abstain from anything, from given, sorry, though relying on my promise to abstain from giving any information as to the world I had left, and still more on the promise of those to whom had been put the same request, not to question me, which Z had exacted from Tari, yet he did not feel sure that, if I were allowed to mix with the strangers whose curiosity the sight of me had aroused, I could sufficiently guard myself against their inquiries. When I went out, therefore, it was never alone. I was always accompanied either by one of my host's family or my child friend Tari. Brar, our Flynn's wife, seldom stirred beyond the gardens which surrounded the house, and was fond of reading the ancient literature, which contained something of romance and adventure not to be found in the writings of recent ages, and presented pictures of a life unfamiliar to her experience and interesting to her imagination. Pictures, indeed, of a life more resembling that which we lead every day above ground, colored by our sorrows, sins, passions, and much to her what the tales of genii or the Arabian Nights are to us. But her love of reading did not prevent Brar from the discharge of her duties as mistress of the largest household in the city. She went daily the round of the chambers and saw that the automata and other mechanical contrivances were in order, that the numerous children employed by R. Flynn, whether in his private or public capacity, were carefully tended. Brar also inspected the accounts of the whole estate, and it was her great delight to assist her husband in the business connected with his office as chief administrator of the lighting department, so that her avocations necessarily kept her much within doors. The two sons were both completing their education at the College of Sages, and the elder, who had a strong passion for mechanics and especially for works connected with the machinery of timepieces and automata, had decided on devoting himself to these pursuits and was now occupied in constructing a shop or warehouse at which his inventions could be exhibited and sold. The younger son preferred farming and rural occupations, and when not attending the college, at which he chiefly studied the theories of agriculture, was much absorbed by his practical application of that science to his father's lands. And it will be seen by this how completely equality of ranks is established among this people, a shopkeeper being of exactly the same grade and estimation as the large landed proprietor. Our Flynn was the wealthiest member of the community, and his eldest son preferred keeping a shop to any other vocation. Nor was this choice thought to show any want of elevated notions on his part. This young man had been much interested in examining my watch, the works of which were new to him, and was greatly pleased when I made him a present of it. Shortly after, he returned the gift with interest by a watch of his own construction, marking both the time as in my watch and the time as kept among the VIII. I have that watch still, and it has been much admired by many among the most eminent watchmakers of London and Paris. It is gold, which with hands and figures, and it plays a favorite tune among the Vril in striking the hours. It only requires to be wound up once in 10 months, and has never gone wrong since I had it. These young brothers being thus occupied, my usual companions in that family when I went abroad were my host or his daughter. Now, agreeably with the honorable conclusions I had come to, I began to excuse myself from Z's invitations to go out alone with her, and seized an occasion when that learned guy was delivering a lecture at the College of Sages to ask our Flynn to show me his country seat. As this was at some little distance, and as our Flynn was not fond of walking, while I had discreetly relinquished all attempts at flying, we proceeded to our destination in one of the aerial boats belonging to my host. A child of 8 years old, in his employ, was our conductor. My host and myself reclined on cushions, and I found the movement very easy and luxurious. Our Flynn, said I, you will not, I trust, be displeased with me if I ask your permission to travel for a short time and visit other tribes or communities of your illustrious race. I have also a strong desire to see those nations which do not adopt your institutions and which you consider as savages. It would interest me greatly to notice what are the distinctions between them and the races whom we consider civilized in the world I have left. It is utterly impossible that you should go hence alone, said R. Flynn. Even among the Vril you would be exposed to great dangers. Certain peculiarities of formation and color, and the extraordinary phenomenon of hirsute bushes upon your cheeks and chin, denoting in you a species of Arn distinct alike from our own race and any known race of barbarians yet extant, would attract, of course, the special attention of the College of Sages in whatever community of Vril you visited, and it would depend upon the individual temper of some individual sage whether you would be received, as you have been here, hospitably, or whether you would not be at once dissected for scientific purposes. Know that when the tour first took you to this house, and while you were there put to sleep by Tari in order to discover from you or recover from your previous pain of fatigue, the sages summoned by the tour were divided in opinion whether you were a harmless or an obnoxious animal. During your unconscious state, your teeth were examined, and they clearly showed that you were not only graminivorous, but carnivorous. Thank you. Carnivorous. Uh, Graminivorous, but carnivorous. Carnivorous animals of your size are always destroyed as being of savage and dangerous nature. Our teeth, as you have doubtless observed, are not those of the creatures who devour flesh. It is indeed maintained by Zari and other philosophers that, as in remote ages the Arna did prey upon living beings of the brute species, their teeth must have been fitted for that purpose, but, even if so, they have been modified by hereditary transmission and suited to the food on which we now exist. Nor are even the barbarians who adopt the turbulent and ferocious institutions of Gleknaz devourers of flesh like beasts of prey. In the course of the dispute, it was proposed to dissect you. But Tari begged you off, and the tour being, by office, averse to all novel experiments at variance with our customs of sparing life, except where it is clearly proved to be for the good and the community to take it, sent to me, whose business it is, as the richest man of the state, to afford hospitality to strangers from a distance. It was at my option to decide whether or not you were a stranger whom I could safely admit. Had I declined to receive you, you would have been handed over to the College of Sages, and what might there have befallen you I do not like to conjecture. Apart from this danger, you might chance to encounter some child of 4 years old, just put in possession of his vril staff, and who, in alarm at your strange appearance and in the impulse of the moment, might reduce you to a cinder. Tari himself was about to do so when he first saw you, had his father not checked his hand. Therefore, I say you cannot travel alone, but with Z you would be safe. And I have no doubt that she would accompany you on a tour round the neighboring communities of Rilia. To the savage states, no, I will ask her. Now, as my main object in proposing to travel was to escape from Z, I hastily exclaimed, Nay, pray do not do that. I relinquish my design. You have said enough as to its dangers to deter me from it, and I can scarcely think it right that a young guy of the personal attractions of your lovely daughter should travel into other regions without a better protector than a Tish of my insignificant strength and stature. Arflin emitted the soft, sibilant sound which is the nearest approach to laughter that a full-grown Arn permits to himself. Ere he replied, Pardon my discourteous but momentary indulgence of mirth at my observation seriously made by my guest, at any observation seriously made by my guest. I could not but be amused at the idea of Z, who is so fond of protecting others that children call her the guardian, needing a protector herself against any dangers arising from the audacious admiration of males. Know that our Gaiai, while unmarried, are accustomed to travel alone among other tribes, to see if they find there some Arn who may please them more than the Arna they find at home. Z has already made 3 such journeys, but hitherto her heart has been untouched. Here the opportunity which I sought was afforded to me, and I said, looking down and with faltering voice, Will you, my kind host, promise to pardon me if what I am about to say gives offense? Say only the truth, and I cannot be offended. Or, could I be so, it would not be for me, go on, you fucker, but for you to pardon. Well then, I assist me to quit you, and much as I should have liked to witness more of the wonders, and enjoy more of the felicity which belong to your people, let me return to my own. I fear there are reasons why I cannot do that. There's a spider in here with me. I fear there are reasons why I cannot do that, at all events not without permission of the Tour, and he probably would not grant it. You are not destitute of intelligence. You may, though I do not think so, have concealed the degree of destructive powers possessed by your people. You might, in short, bring upon us some danger, and if the Tour entertains that idea, it would clearly be his duty either to put an end to you or enclose you in a cage for the rest of your existence. But why should you wish to leave a state of society which you so politely allow to be more felicitous than your own? Oh, Arflen! My answer is plain. Lest in not and unwittingly I should betray your hospitality, lest in the caprice of will, which in our world is proverbial among the other sex, and from which even a guy is not free, your adorable daughter should be deigned to regard me, though a Tish, as if I were a civilized Arn, and, court you as her spouse, put in Arflen gravely, and without any visible sign of surprise or displeasure. You have said it, not a tarantula. That would be a misfortune, resumed my host after a pause, and I feel you have acted as you ought in warning me. It is, as you imply, not uncommon for an unwedded guy to conceive tastes as to the object she covets, which appear whimsical to others, but there is no power to compel a young guy to any course opposed to that which she chooses to pursue. All we can do is to reason with her, and experience tells us that the whole college of sages would find it vain to reason with a guy in a matter that concerns her choice and love. I grieve for you, because such a marriage would be against the Aglaran, or good of the community, for the children of such a marriage would adulterate the race. They might even come into the world with the teeth of carnivorous animals. This could not be allowed. Z, as a guy, cannot be controlled, but you, as a Tish, can be destroyed. I advise you then to resist her addresses, to tell her plainly that you can never return her love. This happens constantly. Many an Arn, however, ardently wooed by one guy. What he means there's a fucking comma there that shouldn't be there. What he means is, many an Arn, however ardently wooed by one guy, rejects her and puts an end to her persecution by wedding another. The same course is open to you. No, for I cannot wed another guy without equally injuring the community and exposing it to the chance of rearing carnivorous children. That is true. All I can say, and I say it with the tenderness due to a Tish and the respect due to a guest, is frankly this: if you yield, you will become a cinder. I must leave it to you to take the best way you can to defend yourself. Perhaps you had better tell Z that she is ugly. The assurance on the lips of him she woos generally suffices to chill the most ardent guy. Here we are at my country house. End chapter 22. Thank you for enduring that with me. That was only 15 minutes. God, this is... Okay, the next chapter is real long, so we might get to it or we might not. If we have any chatter... Oof. Hey, Beyond, lady. I need a nickname for you. Whew, it's cold. Yo. Dudes. Also dudettes. Nah, not the dudettes, actually. Airplane. Heard that. Eric. What the fuck that means? You fucking people. What the fuck, man? He's trying to read a bad book, man. Give me a second, it's fucking cold. I gotta fix that. Ow, that hurted. You heard an airplane, heard that. Yes, there was probably an airplane that flew overhead. Okay. It's fucking cold. Dude, it's gonna get down below freezing. No, it's going to get approaching freezing in the forecast this week. It says it's gonna be 33 degrees on Friday. Either Friday or Saturday, I don't remember which. Who gives a shit about the specifics? Anyone who gives the shit about the specifics is not a regular watcher of the show, because they know you should definitely not quote about the specifics. I will estimate habitually because, oh God, the specifics are irrelevant to you. It is true to say that it is going to be approaching freezing this weekend. That is what you need to know. Need to know basis. Shaggy Philly Tea's life is on a need to know basis. Oh God, you learn more than that all the time. Okay. I don't know why this turned on my laptop. Okay. This actually kind of doesn't want to go right there. Okay. Yes, I'm moderately uncomfortable. What the fuck is happening? And why? Oh, I bet you I'm stuck on my fucking mouse somewhere. No, my laptop is just going ape shit. What the fuck is happening? Jesus, some of these chapters are really fucking long. FOUO for official use only? Yeah, basically. I'm gonna get pissed off if it's 33. 33 is snowman shit. Nah, it's all good, man. It's all good, does it? Does it get chilly out where you're at? Fuck around and find out, right? Fuke. In other words, fuke around and find out. Okay. Okay, I actually want to be in the red one as a hood. So one more movement. That was my random Swedish. Not proud of it. Not proud of it. Which, oh man, I'm twisted as fucking this thing. Okay, well, for those of you who are like, oh man, it's really cold, he's gonna be all cold and stuff, just remember I am in a fucking t-shirt. It's not that bad. Okay. We're almost there, folks. If I don't get this fixed so that I can comfortably lie like this while I read, I won't be able to read because I'll have a freak out. Freak out! Okay. Calming breath in, we resume. Kind of don't want this on my head anymore. I kind of didn't get pulled up high enough in it. Oh, wait, no. I might have fixed it. Did I fixed it? Look, you get good at this stuff. You get good at stuff you wouldn't think you get good at. Yeah, I make 33 with wind chill. Yeah, for sure. Whew. Yeah, can make it lower than that in Ohio. Ohio's wind is fucking batty. Okay. Why is that happening? Why is this happening? What's happening? This shouldn't be able to do that. Also, it just shouldn't be there. Okay. We can do this. The Coming Race by Edward Bulwer Lytton, Chapter 23. I confess that my conversation with R. Flynn and the extreme coolness with which he stated his inability to control the dangerous caprice of his daughter, and treated the idea of the reduction into a cinder to which her amorous flame might expose my too seductive person, took away the pleasure I should otherwise have had in the contemplation of my host's country seat, and the astonishing and the astonishing perfection of the machinery by which his farming operations were conducted. The house differed in appearance from the massive and somber building which R. Flynn inhabited in the city, and which seemed akin to the rocks out of which the city itself had been hewn into shape. The walls of the country seat were composed by trees placed a few feet apart from each other, the interstices being filled in with the transparent metallic substance which serves the purpose of glass among the Arna. These trees were all in flower, and the effect was very pleasing, if not in the best taste. We were received at the porch by lifelike automata, who conducted us into a chamber, the like to which I never saw before, but have often, on summer days, dreamily imagined. It was a bower, half room, half garden. The walls were one mass of climbing flowers. The open space which we call windows, and which here the metallic surfaces were slighted back, commanded various views. Some of the wide landscape with its lakes and rocks, some of small, limited expanses answering to our conservatories, filled with tiers of flowers. Along the sides of the room were flower beds interspersed with cushions for repose. In the center of the room was a cistern and a fountain of that liquid light which I have presumed to be naphtha. Naphtha. It was luminous and of a roseate hue. It sufficed without lamps to light up the room with a subdued radiance. That's interesting. If he's calling it naphtha, it must be before the discovery of petroleum's uses, because we knew what petroleum was. Like like oil, carbon oil. That's, I think, what he's calling naphtha. Naphtha. That's hard to say. Naphtha. That's naphtha. It's just hard to say. And so if he's calling it naphtha, that means they probably weren't burning petroleum in the way that we do. They certainly weren't refining it or digging for it in the way that we are do. He continues. It was luminous and of a roseate hue. It sufficed without lamps to light up the room with a subdued radiance. All around the fountain was carpeted. All around the fountain was carpeted with a soft, deep lichen, not green. I have never seen that color in the vegetation of this country, but a quiet brown, on which the eye reposes with the same sense of relief as that with which in the upper world it reposes on green. In the outlets upon flowers, which I have compared to our conservatories, there were singing birds innumerable, which, while we remained in the room, sang in those harmonies of tunes to which they are, in these parts, so wonderfully trained. The roof was open. The whole scene had charms for every sense, music from the birds, fragrance from the flowers, and varied beauty to the eye at every aspect. About all was a voluptuous repose. What a place, methought, for a honeymoon, if a guy bride were a little less formidably armed, not only with the rights of woman, but with the powers of man. For when one thinks of a guy so learned, so tall, so stately, so much above the standard of the creature we call woman as was Z, no. Even if I had felt no fear of being reduced to a cinder, it is not of her I should have dreamed in that bower so constructed for dreams of poetic love. The automata reappeared, serving one of those delicious liquids which form the innocent wines of the Vrilya. Truly, said I, this is a charming residence, and I can scarcely conceive why you do not settle yourself here instead of amid the gloomier abodes of the city. As responsible. Wait, who is this speaking? Who's he fucking talking to? I think this is R. Flynn. He didn't say. As responsible to the community for the administration of light, I am compelled to reside chiefly in the city, and can only come hither for short intervals. Oh, I'm sorry. It's the automata. So he says, truly, this is a charming residence, and I can scarcely conceive why you do not settle yourself here instead of amid the gloomier abodes of the city. He has to be talking to R. Flynn. As responsible to the community for the administration of light, I am compelled to reside chiefly in the city, and can only come hither for short intervals. Oh boy. But since I understand from you that no honors are attached to your office and it involves some trouble, why do you accept it? And I guess this is still R. Flynn. Each of us obeys without question the command of the tour, he said. Be it requested that R. Flynn shall be the commissioner of light, so I had no choice. But, having held the office now for a long time, the cares, which were at first unwelcome, have become, if not pleasing, at least endurable. We are all formed by custom. Even the difference of our race from the savage is but the transmitted continuance of custom, which becomes, through hereditary descent, part and parcel of our nature. You see, there are Arna who even reconcile themselves to the responsibilities of chief magistrate, but no one would do so if his duties had not been rendered so light, or if there were any questions as to compliance with his requests. Not even if you thought the request unwise or unjust? We do not allow ourselves to think so, and indeed everything goes on as if each and all governed themselves according to immemorial custom. When the chief magistrate dies or retires, how do you provide for his successor? The Arn who has discharged the duties of chief magistrate for many years is the best person to choose, one by whom those duties may be understood, and he generally names his successor. His son, perhaps? Seldom that, for it is not an office anyone desires or seeks, and a father naturally hesitates to constrain his son. But if the Tour himself declined to make a choice, for fear it might be supposed that he owed some grudge to the person on whom his choice would settle, then there are 3 of the College of Sages who draw lots among themselves, which shall have the power to elect the chief. We consider that the judgment of one Arn of ordinary capacity is better than the judgment of 3 or more, however wise they may be. For among 3 there would probably be disputes. Where there are disputes, passion clouds judgment. The word choice made by one who has no motive in choosing wrong is better than the best choice made by many who have many motives for not choosing right. You reserve in your policy the maxims adopted by my country. Are you all in your country satisfied with your governors? All? Certainly not. The governors that most please some are sure to be those most displeasing to others. And that's what I was trying to remind Eric, while looking at you, buddy. That's what I was trying to remind you is that for everything that you and I hate, someone loves that shit. And I have to be morally relative on these things while there's a camera on me. So I love you deeply. Even if I agree with you, I have to do this. Then our system is better than yours. For you it may be, but according to our system, a Tish could not be reduced to a cinder if a female compelled him to marry her. And as a Tish I sigh to return to my native world. Take courage, my dear little guest. Z can't compel you to marry her. She can only entice you to do so. Don't be enticed. Come and look around my domain. We went forth into a close, bordered with sheds. For though the Arna keep no stock for food, there are some animals which they rear for milking and others for shearing. And thank you for calling that a fact, my friend. The former have no resemblance to our cows, nor the latter to our sheep, nor do I believe such species exist amongst them. They use the milk of three varieties of animal. One resembles the antelope, but is much larger, being as tall as a camel. The other two are smaller, and though differing somewhat from each other, resemble no creature I ever saw on earth. They are very sleek and of rounded proportions, their color that of the dappled deer, with very mild countenances and beautiful dark eyes. The milk of these three creatures differs in richness and taste. It is usually diluted with water and flavored with the juice of a peculiar and perfumed fruit, and in itself is very nutritious and palatable. The animal, whose fleece serves them for clothing and many other purposes, is more like the Italian she goat than any other creature, but is considerably larger, has no horns, and is free from the displeasing odor of our goats. Its fleece is not thick, but very long and fine. It varies in color, but is never white, more generally of a slate like or lavender hue. For clothing, it is usually worn dyed to suit the taste of the wearer. These animals were exceedingly tame and were treated with extraordinary care and affection by the children, chiefly female, who tended them. Yeah, the Arna and they're called Guy I in plural. We then went through vast storehouses filled with grains and fruits. I may here observe that the main staple of food among these people consists, firstly, of a kind of corn much larger in ear than our wheat, and which by culture is perpetually being brought into new varieties of flavor, and secondly, of a fruit of about the size of a small orange, which, when gathered, is hard and bitter. It is stowed away for many months in their warehouses, and then becomes succulent and tender. Its juice, which is of dark red color, enters into most of their sauces. Ugh. They have many kinds of fruit of the nature of the olive, from which delicious oils are extracted. They have a plant somewhat resembling the sugar cane, but its juices are less sweet and of a delicate perfume. They have no bees nor honey-making insects, but they make much use of a sweet gum that oozes from a coniferous plant, not unlike the Araucaria. I don't know that word. Their soil teems also with esculent roots and vegetables, which it is the aim of their culture to improve and vary to the utmost. And I never remember any meal among this people, however it might be confined to the family household, in which some delicate novelty in such articles of food was not introduced. In fine, as I believe before observed, their cookery is exquisite. Hey, what up? You on? So diversified and nutritious that one does not miss animal food. And their own physical forms suffice to show that with them at least meat is not required for superior production of muscular fiber. They have no grapes. The drinks extracted from their fruits are innocent and refreshing. Their staple beverage, however, is water, and the choice of which they are very fastidious, distinguishing at once the slightest impurity. My younger son takes great pleasure in augmenting our produce, says R. Flynn as we pass through the storehouses, and therefore will inherit these lands, which constitute the chief part of my wealth. To my elder son, such inheritance would be a great trouble and affliction. Are there many sons among you who think the inheritance of vast wealth would be a great trouble and affliction? Certainly, There are indeed very few of the Vrilya who do not consider that a fortune much above the average is a heavy burden. We are rather a lazy people after the age of childhood, and do not like undergoing more cares than we can help, and great wealth does give its owner many cares. For instance, it marks us out for public offices, which none of us like and none of us can refuse. It necessitates our taking a continued interest in the affairs of any of our poorer countrymen, so that we may anticipate their wants and see that none fall into poverty. There is an old proverb amongst us which says, "The poor man's need is the rich man's shame." Pardon me if I interrupt you for a moment. You allow that some, even the Vilya, know want and need relief. If by want you mean the destitution that prevails in a Kumpash, that is impossible with us, unless an Arn has, by some extraordinary process, got rid of all his means, cannot or will not emigrate, and has either tried out the affectionate aid of this relations or personal friends, or refused to accept it. Well then, does he not supply the place of an infant or automaton and become a laborer, a servant? No. Then we regard him as an unfortunate person or of unsound mind, and place him at the expense of the state in a public building, where every comfort and every luxury that can mitigate his affliction are lavished upon him. But an Arn does not like to be considered out of his mind, and therefore such cases occur so seldom that the public building I speak of now is a deserted ruin, and the last inmate of it was an Arn whom I recollect to have seen in my childhood. He did not seem conscious of loss of reason, and wrote globs. When I spoke of wants, I meant such wants as an Arn with desires larger than his means sometimes entertains, for expensive singing birds, or bigger houses, or country gardens, and the obvious way to satisfy such wants is to buy of him something that he sells. Frankly, that's what I mean when you guys ask me what I want, by the way. I want you to just buy something I'm selling. Anyway, hence Arno, like myself, who are very rich, are obliged to buy a great many things they do not require, and live on a very large scale, where they might prefer to live on a small one. For instance, the great size of my house in the town is a source of much trouble to my wife, and even to myself, but I am compelled to have it thus incommodiously large, because, as the richest Arn of the community, I am appointed to entertain the strangers from the other communities when they visit us, which they do in great crowds twice a year, when certain periodical entertainments are held, and when relations scattered throughout all the realms of the Vrilya joyfully reunite for a time. This hospitality on a scale so extensive is not to my taste, and therefore I should have been happier had I been less rich. But we must all bear the lot assigned to us in this short passage through time that we call life. After all, what are 100 years, more or less, to the ages through which we must pass hereafter? Luckily, I have one son who likes great wealth. It is a rare exception to the general rule, and I own I cannot myself understand it. After this conversation, I sought to return to the subject which continued to weigh on my heart, viz., the chances of escape from Z, but my host politely declined to renew that topic and summoned our airboat. On our way back we were met by Z, who, having found us gone, on her return from the College of Sages, had unfurled her wings and flown in search of us. Her grand, but to me, unalluring countenance brightened as she beheld me, and, poising herself beside the boat on her large outspread plumes, she said reproachfully to our Flynn, "Oh, father, was it right in you to hazard the life of your guest in a vehicle to which he is so unaccustomed? He might, by an incautious movement, fall over the side, and alas, he is not like us. He has no wings. It were death to him to fall. It were death to him to fall. Dear one," she added, accosting my shrinking self in a softer voice, "have you no thought of me, that you should thus hazard a life which has become almost a part of mine? Never again be thus rash, unless I am thy companion. What terror thou hast stricken into me!" I glanced furtively at our Flynn, expecting at least that he would indignantly reprove his daughter for expressions of anxiety and affection, which, under all the circumstances, would, in the world above ground, be considered immodest in the lips of a young female, addressed to a male not affianced to her, even if of the same rank of himself. Well, there you go. We say engaged, they said affianced. Affianced, I guess. But so confirmed are the rights of females in that region, and so absolutely foremost among those rights do females claim the privilege of courtship, that our Flynn would no more have thought of reproving his virgin daughter than he would have thought of disobeying the orders of the Tur. In that country, custom, as he implied, is all in all. He answered mildly, the Tish is in no danger, and it is my belief that he can take very good care of himself. I would rather that he let me charge care with myself. Let me charge myself with his care. O heart of my heart, it was in the thought of thy danger that I first felt how much I loved thee. Never did man feel in such a false position as I did. These words were spoken aloud in the hearing of Z's father, and the hearing of the child whom I steered. I blushed with shame for them, and for her, and could not help replying angrily, Z, either you mock me, which, as your father's guest, misbecomes you, or the words you utter are improper for a maiden guy to address even to an Arn of her own race, if he has not wooed her with the consent of her parents. How much more improper to address them to a Tish, who has never presumed to solicit your affections, and who could never regard you with other sentiments than those of reverence and awe. Our Flynn made me a covert sign of approbation, but said nothing. Be not so cruel, exclaimed Z, still in sonorous accents. Can love command itself where it is truly felt? Do you suppose that a maiden guy will conceal a sentiment that God damn. Do you suppose that a maiden guy will conceal a sentiment that it elevates her to feel? What a country you must have come from. Here our Flynn gently interposed, saying, Among the Tish, God damn, among the Tish, the rights of your sex do not appear to be established, and at all events my guest may converse with you more freely if unchecked by the presence of others. To this remark Z made no reply, but darting on me a tender, reproachful glance, agitated her wings, and fled upward. I had counted at least on some aid from my host, I said bitterly, and the perils to which his own daughter exposes me. I gave you the best aid I could. To contradict a guy in her love affairs is to confirm her purpose. She allows no counsel to come between her and her affections. End chapter 23. Hey, Lord, what are you on? What's up? All right, I'm not reading that tonight. What are you doing for time? 43 minutes? I might read chapter 24. Just fun. Go on. How are you? You will take my administration and you will like it. That sounds like you're making fun of me. Hey. My internet disconnected. What are we not liking? Are you guys role-playing samurai? I guess I don't know the name of the Chinese warrior class. That didn't work. You take it and you'll like it. You will take this compliment, and you will like it. Heard that. You cannot. Oh. Yuan, your name is the Chinese equivalent of John. Juan. Juan. I mean, bro, that's C++. Feng Yuan was a hero, right? Feng Yuan? Wasn't he a general? Fighter? Warrior? Historical personage of some sort? Yeah, I said personage. Eat your heart out. Feng Yuan means nothing, idiot. He's locked in my basement. So not an historical personage. The question I asked is, was he an historical personage? To which the answer I was looking for was, no, he's a character in a novel. I was just taking the time to do an Eminem joke. And Dr. Dre says, nothing, idiot. Dr. Dre's locked in my basement. I think he's encouraging you to tell us the title of the novel. The ellipsation there is encouragement for you. You can imagine him saying, and he was in the book called written by the novel doesn't have a title, Eric. It's just some Chinese novel. You covered that it was a Chinese novel by his name being Feng Yuan and not meaning anything in China and Chinese. And then you also covered it being a novel when you said that all the characters in the world of the novel are dickheads. So we know that he's a Chinese novel. There we go. Ah, information transmission and dentistry. I didn't know that I was going to go into orthodontistry. Master of Goo or Reverend Insanity. Insanity. Thank you, Yuan. My guy Eric is trying to take an interest in the thing that you have named yourself after. Web novel? Heard that. Kind of popular. See? And here I thought it might have had an opportunity to be ancient. Fuck do I know? You dropped the soap. All right. You nerds aren't talking about hollow earths and the love lives of magic women at all. I swear to God, sometimes when I talk, if you got a Y chromosome, you just can't hear it. Yeah, you missed 2 chapters, Gina. It's been an hour, homie. You screenshot my name? You get my name out of your screenshots. Who the hell? Who would dare name themselves Lord Yuan, Feng Yuan? You like doom scrolling sometimes, Gina. I swear to God. You tried and we ignored you the first time, Missile, so the second time you're muted forever. I have a one-strike policy. I guess technically that's a two-strike policy, but the first one was a ball. That's how you feel, Jai. Gina, I feel like at this point you should know that I'm always talking about magic women. If I'm not talking about magic women, I'm bored with the conversation. You should know this about me. You think all the people who hang out with me think they're magic women. And Eric. We're not talking about anything. You guys are talking random nonsense. As far as I can tell, you on. We were talking about your username for a minute. Like a long minute. And then I said, you guys aren't talking about what I'm here to talk about at all. And then Gina said, oh, the thing you wanted to talk about? What did I miss? Hey, GCD actually identified what he saw in front of him. Did you get kicked by an elk recently? What happened there? And don't give me autocorrect got me. I don't want to hear that. She's probably, oh, well, you're kidding. Okay. I give you positive feedback and then you go, nah, I'm kidding. We're never going to be friends, Giga. We'll see about that. Oh, we were never on track. I've been done with the book for like 15 minutes. I said I'm not going to read the next chapter. Not tonight. Not everyone, no. What the fuck? What the fuck? Hmm. Pumpkin smashed the squash and made a zucchini. You guys are weird. No, there's not a mod here with us in the chat. You on? Just me. It's like Dumb and Dumberer in here. Pop Doll walks in the chat. There's shit everywhere. There's shit on the walls. Okay, well, it's 2:30 in the morning and approaching freezing. I'm in a t-shirt in a sleeping bag, and you guys are talking about emojis. I don't know that I need to be here for this portion of the show. I feel like this could be happening in the Discord without me. And so I'm beginning to feel like I have better things to do with my time. Like anything else. Like literally anything but this. Gina dismisses me. All right, good night, Gina. Gina's setting it off. Indeed. I guess. Have a good night. I'm gonna find something creatively satisfying to do.